what you got. Oh, I can't see tomorrow. Gotta live, try to get a little wiggle room, the rest don't stop. Quit pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Tryna make a dollar, flip it like it's vinyl. Tryna make a way. What's it worth to you if the price too high? Quit pro quo, I need the best y'all got. Give me your best. Don't say nothing less, cause I'm giving you 100. How you always leaving me with nothing? I'm not impressed. It's gonna take more than this, cause I'm giving you 100. And I don't even know if I can trust you for nothing.
Welcome to Monday. What is happening? Good morning. How are you? Adam, is that you this morning? Are you my first good morning, Adam Stevenson? Is that are you my first one? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Monday, man. I'm so excited, fired up to be here, fired up to get this thing rolling. See that little light reflecting off the master's picture right there. What's up, brother? Hope you had a good weekend. We had a great weekend, a fantastic weekend, great Sunday. I'm going to do something really quick on my audio settings just to make sure we're good. All right, we're good. Okay, let's rock and roll. Let's do this thing. Well, good morning. Welcome to Monday, y'all. It is August the 7th. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic day. I really think this is going to be one of those. Christy is actually awake. I should have put her name at the bottom of the screen, but she is actually awake. She's showered. She is ready to rock and roll. So I'm certain she's going to bring a little heat this morning as well. So she'll be down in just a little bit. But man, what a great weekend! What a great Sunday, Adam. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great Sunday. We just a fantastic weekend. I'm not sure where Christy wants to start, but man, I tell you, it's funny how, I don't want to steal her thunder because again, I'm not sure what she wants to talk about. But it's amazing when you're in the flow, right? You've heard people talk about being in the flow, and of course, I read that book this last year. Probably the single greatest work on flow, talking about being emotionally connected to a purpose, emotionally connected. To the degree that you sort of forget where you are. You're so emotionally invested in whatever it is you're doing that you sort of lose track of time. You sort of lose track of the thoughts of how do I do A, B, and C. You're just kind of in it. You're just flowing. You're in the flow, and it's really what it felt like yesterday. I will tell you a story about yesterday. It was pretty spectacular, and it's one of those moments that you just kind of realize that you're where you're supposed to be. You just kind of realize that what you're doing is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And it was a fantastic story. And I'm sure Christy tells stories that are a lot more detailed than I tell them. So I'm not sure I'm not going to take away her thunder. But I am going to mention this because I think this is important to hear. Yesterday morning's theme was about chaos, and chaos not in a bad way. Chaos not in a oh my gosh, my life's so chaotic way, in a way that chaos was sort of illuminated by God. And chaos was something that we looked at and understood that it's just a part of the process, that everything in nature at some point during its growth cycle goes into a state of chaos. When something's trying to transition from infancy to maturity, there is a level of chaos that occurs in that transition period. If it's a tree, if it's a bush, if it's a person, there is a level of chaos that occurs. And so here's a crazy story. This is the crazy story I'm going to tell you. I wish there were more people to hear this, but you'll hear it later, I suppose. But here's the crazy story. So I get up early, right? So I get up before Christy usually, and I'm up early doing my thing. And we're in Eatonton, so we stayed in our in our house at Eatonton, which is on a golf course, and which is in and of itself another story for another day. But Gary Brecka, if you remember Gary Brecka, we've mentioned him in the past. Gary Brecka is the 10X health coach guy. He's Grant Cardone's health coach guy. He's the human biologist who does the DNA testing, who then supplements your DNA breaks. I mean, just the guy that I think he's a robot. I'm not sure he's a real person. I think he's a robot. I did ask his wife if he was an actual human being, because I've never been around a person as smart as he is. But he talks about grounding, and he talks about, and I've heard not grounding necessarily, but he talks about grounding. And when I say grounding, what you do is you just walk outside barefooted. I mean, they make these electronic pads that are like $600 to do the same exact thing. But he said, just go outside, just walk outside barefooted, just walk outside in the grass barefooted for 5 minutes for 4 or 5 days a week. And what that does is when you ground, when you walk on this is what's been proven is when you walk out on the earth, that there's a magnetic charge, an energetic charge from the earth to your feet that helps alkalize your body. So this is a complete different offshoot. Not going to do that, but we'll talk about that another story for another day. But I'm outside walking around barefooted at like 6 a.m, and I found a golf ball laying in the grass. We don't find many golf balls laying in the grass because we don't live in an area. We are just far enough outside the hitting zone that we typically don't dodge golf balls. I've hit I've blown some way right and never come close to our porch. But every now and again, you'll see one that'll just hit a tree or something and may bounce toward the house. But I found a golf ball. Christy's not up. I'm awake. Christy's not up. And so when I get up and I find this golf ball, on the golf ball it says chaos. The golf ball has the word chaos on it. So I wipe it off. Didn't think anything about it. I wipe it off. I'm just kind of walking around, doing my grounding, doing my thing, walking around outside barefooted. Put the golf ball down, but I've got another little collection of golf balls in it over the course of 2 or 3 years, the ones that have ended up close to the house, and my little 5 golf balls that I have. And then Christy's inside. In the meantime, Christy's awake. She's inside, eyes closed, doing her morning devotional, her meditation that she does. And so I didn't want to disturb her. I shut the door. Well, I go back outside. I'm sitting there reading, listening. Go back, and I wrote some great stuff down, some fantastic stuff yesterday. Walk back inside, and Christy's devotion is about chaos. Her devotion is about walking through chaos, how God uses chaos to create clarity, how God uses chaos in this transition from infancy to maturity, how when he moves you from one step to the next step, many times there's chaos in the movement. And so when I walked in, she's like, oh my gosh, you got to listen to this, you got to listen to this. And she says, this is the title of this message. And it was chaos. And I don't even remember the rest. When she said chaos, I went, you got to be kidding me. And she said, I said, stop before you say anything else. I walked outside. I grabbed the golf ball, walked back inside. I said, read with this golf balls. I mean, Adam, you play golf. You ever seen a golf ball, a chaos golf ball? It's made by Wilson. I've never even seen one before. And I've been around golf for a long time, and I've never seen a golf ball, a chaos golf ball. So I walk inside and I hand her the golf ball, and it says chaos on it. And she's like, oh my gosh. And man, that was the catalyst for a whole entire conversation, which again helps us to illuminate why things are the way they are, why things happen the way they happen, why when you feel like everything's chaotic, everything's unraveling, everything's falling apart, everything's spinning out of control, all God says is, look at me. If you remember the story in the Bible, when Peter stepped out of the boat and started to sink, or he started walking, as long as he had his eye on God, he walked on the water. As long as he had his eyes on Jesus, he was able to walk toward Jesus. But when he started to figure out that he was walking on water, when he started to pay attention, he got out of the flow of Jesus, got into the flow of Peter, and he figured out that he wasn't in fact Jesus, that he wasn't in fact supposed to be walking on water, because that in fact defied everything physically that he understood about his senses in the earth and all the other things. And he began to inwardly focus on his own struggle, on his own chaos, and the fact that he was where he wasn't supposed to be. He started sinking. Now, I believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God. I believe that there's a really good possibility that happened, but we don't know that if it actually happened. But even if it didn't happen, the story, the parable, the allegory behind that is when life gets chaotic, when the car begins to spin, you don't look out the side windows. You don't look in your rearview mirror. You look out in front and find you a point to pick out in front of you that you can steer toward. When things get chaotic, when things get in chaos, when things start to spin out of control, you got to find a spot to point your eyes to. You got to find a spot to look at so that you can steer out of the spin. That's why intention is so important. That's why having a goal is so important. Having something out there that you can look at is so important. That's why it was so important for Peter to have Jesus out there to look at, so that when he was looking at Jesus, it was all good. And so y'all know we've been going through this Vic Keller, his 4 billionaire buckets, and I wish more people were on here to interact with us. And it's going to grow. We're gonna this thing's going to start pumping out. I'm telling you. And I really believe when Christy walks down here, she's going to bring some noise. But I'm gonna go ahead and start because I want to make sure I keep this to 30 minutes. And we got to get through 4 things. So I want to talk about your intentions, because having an intention, having something that you intend to do, having something definite out in front of you that you're walking toward, working toward, looking at, that keeps the chaos from overtaking you. Because it's certainly easy when the car starts to spin out of control. It's super, super easy to say, Jesus, take the wheel, and it careens off into the ditch. It's super, super easy to try to figure out which way you're going to go and continue to lose control, and it ends up flipping and throwing you out of the car. That's just as easy as pulling out and driving out of the spin. It's just as easy to continue to swirl in non-clarity. It's super easy to keep continuing to swirl in confusion when you're not aligned in your purpose and you're just kind of going through your days willy-nilly. That's why these morning routines are so important. That's why I'm such a fan of people getting up and getting on these calls, because it gets you into a morning routine. It gets you into a morning thing that interrupts. We all need pattern interrupters, y'all. Every one of you in your life needs a pattern interrupter. I'm 51 years old. Most of the people that watch this call are over 30. Statistically, scientifically, it's been proven that by the time you're 30, 35, about 80% of your behaviors are all habitual. And in that habitual behavior, it keeps looking like it's always looked. It keeps doing what it's always done. It keeps being what it's always been, because the behaviors never change. So a lot of us need a pattern interrupter. We need something to interrupt those behavior patterns. We need something to interrupt that bad swing thought. We need something to interrupt that path that we're going down, so that we can, again, focus on Jesus as we're walking on the water. We can focus on the intention as we walk toward that high mark, that goal, that thing we're supposed to do. So we've been talking about Vic Keller, and I've named this, and I hope Vic didn't get mad. But Vic talks about 4 things. So I call them the 4 billionaire buckets, because he's a billionaire, and these are cool buckets of information he's given us. So in the first one today, in intentionality, remember, intentionality is thinking and acting bigger. It is intentionally acting bigger, acting differently, acting toward, your outcome. Not what you don't act like a 2-year-old. You're going to act like for me, a 52-year-old, a 55-year-old. I want to see and envision my best self out there, because I'm not my best self right now. I'm in this constant state of self-improvement. I am not my best self now. I'm not sure if I'll ever get to my best self, but I know my best self is out there someplace, and that's how I'm going to act. I'm not going to act like I did when I was 20 or when I was 30 or even how I did yesterday. I'm looking to improve. So I've got an intention of thinking big and acting bigger. So here you go. Here's his first one today, in intentionality. Directing your focus and efforts toward your priorities is a hallmark of intentionality. I'm going to say it again. Directing your focus and efforts towards your priorities is a hallmark of intentionality. Towards your priorities. What are your priorities? What are my priorities? Do I have my priorities written down? And the answer is absolutely, unequivocally, yes. I have my priorities written down. What are my priorities? What are your priorities? Are you going through life hoping your priorities just make themselves a priority? Or are you acting intentionally to set your priorities in the proper position? Because a priority is not a priority until it's positioned properly. A priority is not a priority in your life until you give it the energy and the attention and the position that it deserves in your life. And I'm here to tell you, it's been scientifically proven over and over and over and over again. If you don't have these things written down, Randy Travis wrote the song, "If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything." And the reason he wrote that song is there is power in written word. There is power in standing for something. And to enforce your standing for something, you need to write those things down. You need to write those things down. So your intentionality, directing your focus and efforts towards your priorities, is a hallmark of intentionality. And basically what Vic's saying is you can't be intentional about something unless you prioritize it. It's got to take priority in your life for it to become an intention. If it's your spiritual walk, if it's you getting smarter, if it's you getting fitter, if it's you doing something to improve, to get toward your best version of you, right? Then you got to have some intentionality toward that end. You got to make the achievement of that goal, that process, you got to make that intentional. You got to make it a priority. This is good so far? I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. What do you think?
I think it's great.
Tenacity. Here's my second one. I'm going to go and get through these. I know Christy's going to fill up the end. Tenacity.
Do you want to draw them?
There's just 4 of them. Tenacity. Here's what Vic says. Tenacity is becoming relentless in your pursuit. Relentless in your pursuit. What does that mean? What does it mean to truly be relentless in your pursuit? I mean, we're studying, so in church. We went to church yesterday too, y'all, which I'm actually digging. And we were talking. We're reading through the book of Mark at our church. We're going to read through the book of Mark this month, which is pretty fantastic. If you're not a churchgoer, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four first books, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the New Testament. So I call it a gospel. We were talking yesterday about Mark, and we were talking yesterday about who wrote Mark and why they wrote Mark and the setting that Mark was written. And it was all, it really is, the Bible's all about suffering. Suffering to glory, suffering to greatness, suffering to everlasting life, suffering to finding a place of absolute peace, clarity, love, the utmost, highest, best version of you. If you look through the Bible, there are no stories about, well, I woke up and everything was sunny and everything was wonderful and Jesus was standing in my kitchen telling me what to do. There are no stories in the Bible like that, y'all. There is a dude got swallowed by a whale. There was a dude in Egypt who tried to get God's people free, and they had to deal with like all kinds, trying to be killed every day and pestilence. And you need to be shorter, don't you? Hang on, my wife's a little slow. Sorry, we're having a little technical. Here we go. That's much better.
Sorry, y'all. I'm disrupting things, but I'm coming in here.
She disrupted the flow.
I want to jump in because I've already. I don't want him to go through a whole book. I want to expand on this what you're talking about right now.
Well,
That's why I wanted to jump in. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
What are you jumping in on?
Live with purpose. So, what you were talking about with I gotta come closer. Sorry. Just what you're talking. Good morning, everybody. But the talking about this pain, like growth through the pain, growth through the struggle, growth through, and it lines that right in with tenacity, because and that's why I wanted to jump in, because I think that so many of us think, oh, if something gets hard, it's not supposed to happen that way. But if you think about all things, and Aaron says this all the time, everything in life has to go through a struggle to grow, to get to become its intended purpose, to become exactly what it's supposed to be.
So I didn't even read this. So I didn't get.
I can't read what you got on there.
You can't read this because you have glasses on. So here's tenacity today. People who are tenacious, they take risks and face fears to overcome obstacles. They take risks. People who are tenacious, who have tenacity.
A little bit more.
Huh?
I feel like I'm at my pull the desk down. Now he's got this desk that moves up and down. So when he's got the desk, okay, that's good. Sorry. I guess every time you move it, it changes the light off. Oops. Sorry, y'all. I'm just messing all that up.
She does that. But it's all good. People who are tenacious take risks and face fears to overcome obstacles. Y'all,
Just got a stool.
just go. Stop worrying about it. You don't have to be that tall. You're short.
Keep talking.
I can't. You keep interrupting.
Sorry. Keep going.
It's wonderful when she's here.
You take risks. You keep going. You keep going. You just keep on
Listen,
going.
there are going to be obstacles in your life. You're going to find obstacles in your life and things that come in and disrupt your pattern. Even if it's something as funny as my wife coming in. Oh, who's that?
Who's Facebook user?
Who's facing a fear?
I can't see who that is. Yeah.
I'm going to need you to identify
Put your
yourself.
name on there. Whoever's facing a fear today.
I got somebody that just said
You
I'm
got
facing
this.
a fear today.
You got this. Whoever it is, you've got this.
So this, I said something to Lainey yesterday at lunch, and it made me realize.
Oh, Mama.
Mama.
Oh, Mama, wait, she's flying.
She's flying today. I said something to Lainey yesterday at lunch. We make assumptions, right? Because we all face fears. We all face that false evidence appearing real, right?
Right.
False evidence appearing real. And people, many times, our fear stops us. Our fear will make us retreat. Our fear will sink us to the bottom of the water. Instead of keeping our eyes on the prize, our eyes on Jesus as we're walking out of the boat toward him on the water, our fear says, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be walking on water. Even though he was walking on water,
Right.
he said,
Right.
I'm not supposed to be walking on water. And he
Right.
started looking around and he sunk.
Right.
How many times do we do that? Y'all, if you're in our team trainings, if you're in our sales meetings, I talk about self-sabotage all the time. I talk about how we all function to what we believe is possible.
Correct.
And when we get to the edge of what we believe is possible, we all look down and go, I'm not supposed to be this good. I'm not supposed to be making this much money. I'm not supposed to be this happy. So I think I'm going to start a fight with my wife. I think I'm going to start doing things that are, and you don't say that out loud,
Right.
but it's something in your ego where you'll start to self-sabotage and you'll retreat to a place of comfort.
Right.
And your comfort, for most of us, is a place not in line with who we're supposed to be. Our comfort is a place of mediocrity. Our comfort is a place based on the past instead of going toward the future.
You talked about it yesterday. I mean, Aaron, just as an example, he was talking about, I went somewhere. Oh, I
Morning,
left,
Mags.
Good morning, Maggie. I had left to go to a showing, to go to actually a house that a girl's put under contract, and met her and somebody else over there to see it, to do a walkthrough on it. And he came home and sat on the couch and thought he was going to get comfortable. And he had said Saturday, I really want to trim those trees up. I've got trees in the backyard. I want to get them trimmed up. They're way overgrown. He looks at them right outside of his office window down here.
They're awful, y'all.
So he said that
I got a blister and everything.
he got up and he pushed it. He pushed because he was, and it's everything. It's always going to rain. It's supposed to storm, blah, blah, blah. And so he gets up and does it. And I get home and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, what do I think of what? He's like, do you not see the difference? Well, I had not noticed. He noticed what they look like to start with. I didn't know. So I didn't really have a point of reference, but he understood. So even mediocrity to some people is completely different if you don't have a point of reference of where you're going, of what the ideal scenario is.
That's good.
So you have to be sure that, again, you got to be intentional about, because mediocre for you might be the best that someone else has ever done. And so, or mediocre for you might be the least that someone else has ever done. Your top shelf might be the least that someone else is at, maybe not ever done, but probably maybe where they're at right now. So I mean, I think that situational awareness, I don't know if is that the topic that you talked about today, was situational awareness? Is that your header?
You keep going.
So, because again, when he got up yesterday and he kept making these excuses, because guess where comfort was? Sitting on the couch watching golf.
Oh, son. On the way home from lunch, I'd already told Carson, look, I'm taking a nap. When I get back, I'm taking a nap. And I sat there, I literally went upstairs, turned on golf, had kicked off my shoes. And I looked at the radar at least 5 times. Like, it's going to rain. It's going to rain.
Talking yourself out of it.
It's going to rain.
Talking yourself out of it.
I need a nap. I need a nap. I was taking a nap. And I'm telling you, then I understood, because I shut that thing down. I said, you know what? This has got to go get done.
Yep.
This has to be done. I'm leaving in the morning. This has to be done this weekend. I can't look at this one more day.
Yeah. And he got up this morning, walked in there. It's still dark outside, so it wasn't like he looked at it. He just got it this morning when he walked in there a while ago and said, I'm so glad I got those trees cut yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, so there's a feeling when you push through the comfort zone, even in little things like that. And we say it all the time. How you do anything is how you do everything.
And that's a mantra.
And there's nothing wrong with taking a nap. There's nothing better than a Sunday afternoon siesta.
Son.
But
or a Tuesday.
Or
a Wednesday after the meeting.
Or every day. But knock it out, get it out of the way, and then get up and do what you know you need to do. Push through. Maybe use that as your fuel to get you going to do whatever you want to do. And I'm not going to stay here long because I got to go up there and help get. Zeke's already up there. But yeah.
So situational awareness. Y'all know that Vic talks about situational awareness. Again, this is his third bucket. And his third bucket is develop a clear sight picture. Again, it goes along with being intentional. It goes along with being tenacious. When you have a clear sight picture, when you know what it's supposed to look like, and how you do that, how do you know what it's supposed to look like 3 years from now?
Right.
None of us really know what it's supposed to look like 3 years from now, but I can tell you this morning as I'm sitting and I'm doing my meditation, the visions, the things that are out there are. Good morning, Rachel. Those things are in view, right? I've gotten to the point where I'm able to see those things. I'm able to feel those things. I understand what it's going to feel like when it happens. And when it happens, there's this place of, hey, how are you? Where have you been my whole life, right? There's this place of awareness and agreement when you're finally at that intended destination. It feels like it felt before you actually felt it.
Right.
That makes sense? So developing a clear sight picture is seeing it before you see it. It's seeing it in here before you see it with these. That's developing a clear sight picture. And what the enemy of your soul does, what the yin to your yang does, what the little dude up here does, it says, don't worry about out there. You don't need to be a dreamer. You need to be here in reality. I'm telling you right now, and I'm telling you this, and I've heard this from so many different people. Your imagination is your superpower as a human being.
Yep.
Lower animals do not have imaginations. We have imaginations, and it is an incredible superpower that we have, because at 4 or 5 years old, you think everything's possible and nothing's going to stop you, and you will kick and scream to get Skittles, but because you want Skittles so bad.
Right.
But when you start to grow up and start to mature, and you're told you can't act that way, you can't be this way,
right.
You need to be more realistic. Stop being a dreamer. Go to school, get married, get a degree, get a job, so you can be miserable like I've been miserable my entire 30 years. I mean, I can hear my dad right now saying this, like, dude, the reason I stopped being a police officer is, and Dad, I love you. You know, I called you yesterday and or Saturday, I told you how much I love you. So I don't hope if you watch this, you don't take this the wrong way. But he is a miserable sack of bones.
That's not true.
He's so negative.
So
I'm gonna say right here.
Yeah, okay.
Because if it's like a broke person telling you how to go make money, right? Why would I want to let, as much as I love him, he's a wonderful father, but he worked 38 years as a police officer, spent his entire life doing this, and sits and he's just not the happiest person he could be. I don't want to be that way at 71. I don't want to be that way at 72. I still be rocking and rolling, man. I still want to be helping people be awesome. And my dad helped people be awesome for so long. And then when he lost that, it was just like the air went out of his balloon.
Well, and I think that's part of it. It's not so much and there's nothing from that other than holding back because I think all those come from a different direction. Holding back from jumping out there and taking on that risk and jumping out there to do what you could do because of the voice inside your head saying, but you've got these responsibilities, but you've got to do this. So the guarantee is there. And that's the self-sabotage there.
Yeah.
That's that voice saying, but this is guaranteed. You can just stay back here and you can live within this, and you just make that work. You fit within this box. And that's why the imagination of, nobody's saying go out there and just be carefree and don't take on responsibilities, but you've got to be able to balance that and understand that when you take that footing. I mean, Rachel's on here. We're doing some stuff right now that
It's pushing her out of her comfort zone.
Pushing her out of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
But she's taking that first step, that next step, and she's putting her foot there and making sure it's there. You don't just go run before you know that there's some footing there.
That's true.
You want to make sure there's footing there. So, but to just stay back because it's the unknown, that's the regret is one of the biggest pains in life that you can't go back and change. You cannot shake the pain of regret. You just can't do it. So I do. I mean, I'm going to hop out of here, but I want you guys to just think today about, and there's a lot more to the situational awareness, because it's not just about seeing things before you can't see them. It's about acknowledging everything that's in place that you can see. It is about being aware of everything and making sure that your picture and your vision is broad enough that you can actually see all the things that are there. It's not just about knowing that if you land between those red dots lined up perfectly, that you're going to land on the runway. It is about knowing and looking at everything else that's around and being aware of what matters and what doesn't, what's chatter and what's important. Those kinds of things.
There are very few things in life that are exacts.
Right.
There are very few things in life that are this has to happen to this to happen to this. Most of our life is a trial and error. Most of our life, there are multiple options for any situation. So here's situational awareness, right? And Rachel, I want you to hear this.
I'm gonna hop out, y'all, because I gotta get a kid ready for it. I don't know who the Facebook user is, but yeah, a lot of us have a lot of chatter.
Hey Heidi, good morning.
Hey Heidi, a lot of us have a lot of chatter, and if we've got chatter, I had, and I'm gonna say this one more thing.
Yeah.
I had a conversation the other day with somebody. It's somebody else in a real estate transaction. Again, this is where you guys that are in real estate, they're listening to this. You are to be a guide, not a guru, right? Yeah. You are to be the person that helps. People are looking to you for guidance in a situation. And even if you're a real estate agent, you might still be looking to others for guidance, and you should be until you grow, because I look for guidance. Okay. But I'm having this conversation with this guy, and he calls me and says, well, somebody told me that this wasn't a good deal and this wasn't a good idea to do this. And I said, wait, just stop for a second. Everybody wants to be an armchair quarterback, right? Everybody wants to tell you based on your situation. If they find out you're doing this, the more people you talk, if you're facing a big decision or you're facing anything, there's going to be a million people out there telling you what you should do, or what they would do, or what so-and-so did, or da-da-da-da. But what you got to understand is you've got to know your situation. You've got to know your destination, and you got to know where you're at right now.
Yeah.
In order to know how to effectively get where you're going, you got to know where you're at. Okay. I can't ask you to get me to Atlanta if I'm in Hartwell, Georgia, and then somebody says, well, the way you get there is you take I-20 west, and you go, well, guess what? They're in Greensboro, Georgia. Okay. So somebody's in a different position than you are. Their directions for you to get to the exact same place are going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. They've got to know exactly where you're at. They got to know how fast does your car go. Yep. All your different things are very different. So sometimes you've got to say, I am shutting down the chatter. And sometimes the only way to shut down the chatter is to not tell everybody and ask everyone's opinion. And so many times as humans, we just want confirmation from people that we're doing the right thing. Yep. Right. And so sometimes that confirmation ends up creating more chaos and confusion than anything. I love y'all. I got to run go get a kid dressed for school. So I will see y'all maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
You will.
Bye.
And so she's so right now, and I don't have much time. I've got to get on the road as well. So, but I want to go through this because what she said a couple of things there that I want you to really hone in on. Sorry, I'm going to change this real quick. I'm going to get this back up. That way my head's in the middle of the picture. She said a couple of things there that I really want you to pay attention to. Chatter is going to happen. And even if there's not chatter from the outside, there's chatter from the inside. There's chatter from right on this shoulder. There's chatter from this shoulder. There's chatter from your head. Your head's trying to tell your heart what it ought to do. Guys, I'm gonna give you some advice, Heidi. This is what I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Your subconscious, your heart is connected to the truth. Your grandma ever tell you your heart won't lie? Your heart can't tell a lie. Your heart knows the truth. What happens is your head tries to talk your heart out of the truth. And so when the chatter occurs, because you've got the confusion up here, you've got the confusion on your shoulder, you begin to attract confusion from the outside. And then now you're having to wade through and muddle through all of this chatter. It's always internal. It's always in our head. And guess what, Rachel? Your head, your ego is never satisfied. If you were to make $1 million, your ego would tell you that it's not enough. If you were to make $2, your ego is going to tell you you should be making more money. If you did something you've never done before, your ego is going to tell you that you'll never do it again. Guys, your ego is never, ever satisfied. It's always chatter in your head. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go to situational awareness, and then we're going to go to people, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So situational awareness, and Vic says developing a clear sight picture. Be situationally aware to make quick decisions in a changing market. You got to know what Christy just said. You got to know where you are. You have to know where you're going. You have to understand the conditions between where you are and where you're going. You have to understand the opportunities between where you are and where you're going, because nothing in life is an exact science, y'all. Success is not an exact science. Y'all seen that everybody thinks it ought to be like this, like one straight line, but y'all seen the pictures and it's just like this, right? You lose it, you get it. You lose more, you get more. You lose it again. You get divorced, the dog dies, the car breaks down. So the success journey looks like this. I mean, there's just no way to follow it. Everybody wants it to be straight up into the right, but that's just not the way it works. So to be situationally aware, you've got to be aware of what's going on. You have to have your intention, because the car's going to spin. You have to have your place out in front that you can focus on. You got to have something out there that you can set your eyes on, that when all this goes around, if you take 3 steps to the left or 2 steps to the right, if you're barefooted or have shoes on, if you got one shoe on, one sock off, it doesn't matter. You're just continuing to move with intention and tenacity with a clear sight picture of where it is that you're going. Because I promise you, the only thing we don't doubt is where we've been. The only thing we can't question is the past. The only thing we can't question is what happened back there. What happened 5 minutes ago. I can't question what Christy just said. I can question what she's about to say. I can question what may happen 15 minutes from now, but I can't question what happened 15 minutes ago. And so many of us, we have this obsession with security. We have this obsession with not moving out of our comfort zone. We got to stay right here because it feels so right. Is that George Green? What up, brother? We get so attached to this security. We get so attached to this feeling of safety. And if I stay in the past, nothing changes. So be situationally aware. Understand things are going to change. You're going to change companies. You're going to have new friends. This person's going to go away. You're going to get a new dog. The car's going to break down. It's going to get wet one day. One day it's going to fall out the window. It's just going to happen. But we just have to keep going to where we're headed. Here's my last one, people. And this is what Christy said. Man, this is so good. Look for guides, not gurus, guides, people who've been there, done that, who encourage ongoing learning and development to stay ahead in the industry. You got to find people who've been there, done that, who encourage you to learn, encourage you to grow, encourage you to be a better version tomorrow than you were today, encourage you to be a better version of you 10 minutes from now than you were 10 minutes ago. You've got to find guides in your life, people who have been there, done that, had the t-shirt, the shoes, to help you get to where you're going. You've got to find mentors. You've got to find people doing it better than you've done it. I'm going to say this. If you're the smartest person in the room, y'all, you're in the wrong room. If you're the best one at your company, you're at the wrong company. I have to fight this, Sean. I don't have much time, but I have this anxiety of not belonging, right? It's something internal. It's something that I fight through. It's an energy that I have about not belonging, of not being able to belong, not being qualified to belong, feeling like someone's going to, like I'm the imposter syndrome, right? And I'm telling you, that has come out a lot in me lately because we are elevating the people that we are around. And we are bringing different people into our circle who are doing things bigger than we're doing it. And I promise y'all, there is anxiety. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm not certain that I belong in those rooms. That's what he tells me. This little dude tells me. That's what my brain tells me. As you're not ready for this. You don't belong there. These people have this. You have this. These people do this. You do this. Why do you think you belong up there? Why do you think that's for you? You ever had those feelings? Ever had those? It's not a feeling. It's a thought. That's all it is. It's just your ego trying to talk you out of where you're supposed to go. So I deal with the same thing, guys. I'm telling you, I deal with the same exact thing. It came out the other day at the driving range. This is crazy. So I know, Rachel. Bye. I got to go too. You got to look for guides. You got to look for mentors. You got to look for somebody been there, done that, who can help you, encourage you to learn, encourage you to be better, encourage you to grow, encourage you to take the next step, encourage you to do things you've not done before. That's the kind of guide you need in your life. You need someone who's going to help you find the best version of you, who's going to speak to the truth, not to the excuses. Someone who's going to speak to what was born in here, not to what's thought up here. So it's Monday. Today's the day that a lot of us psychologically think this is the beginning of the week. Although probably for most of you in real estate, you've already been cooking for the last 2 days. But let's just say psychologically, now you're starting your week with your kids. You're starting your week with school. You're starting your week with your spouse having to go to work. You're starting your week with things changing, okay? I want to encourage you this morning. If you've not done it yet, this is why mornings are so important. If you've not done it yet, I want you to sit and be quiet for 10 minutes. No phone, unless you want to put headphones in, listen to some music. But I would do no words, music, just instrumental. But just sit for 10 minutes. Sit for 10 minutes and just breathe and quiet. That's all I want you to do. If you've got a morning routine that you do and you already pray, you already meditate, you're already kind of in that direction, if you're at that level, then I want you to sit for 10 minutes and I want you to picture what it's going to look like. Whatever it is for you. I want you to picture what it's going to feel like, whatever that is for you. But I want you to do that work this morning. Y'all, I love y'all so much, man. We are going. It just hit me all of a sudden. We are going, and I'm not saying me and Christy. I'm saying we as the collective. That's why it's the collective. It's all of us together. It's Heidi. Heidi's in East Tennessee. Rachel, Adam, whoever else jumps on these calls. We are going this way together. We are getting better together. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be in your life. I'm excited that you're in my life. I'm excited that we get to do this every single day. Y'all, today, this Monday, spend 10 minutes. Be quiet. Listen. But most importantly, be good. Be great. Just be you. Love y'all. Bye.